Okay, so welcome back everyone, and welcome to our next session in today's program, which, as Elizabeth said, is a virtual roundtable with our Bursary Holders, something we're very excited in talking about more. So for those of you who don't know, ERSA have recently been awarded a grant by the Youth Futures Foundation to significantly increase our work to tackle youth unemployment. And in February of this year, we announced that the foundation have committed to funding 22 ERSA bursaries for organisations working in communities disproportionately hit by the pandemic. That's a bit of a mouthful. And supporting the employment, education, or training of 16 to 25-year-olds. We're lucky to have some of those bursary winners here today to talk to us about the work that they do and to demonstrate why it was that they were chosen. We also thought it was worth noting before kicking off that when we first launched the call for these bursaries, we specified that the organisations be BAME-led or delivering services to BAME populations. And we know that term has been the subject of intense debate over the past few months, so we've decided that we're no longer going to use it as a rule. We're still not sure what will be replacing it, which is something that the rest of the country is also still debating. But we've taken this decision to better ensure that we're a body that represents all communities and that moves with the times as the times change. I think Laura should be putting one of our recent reports into the chat, similar to that now. So that's just something I thought I'd mention. Okay, so on to the bursary holders. Up first, we have James Hackett of Evolve. If you want to take it away, James.
Hi, Callum. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for the introduction. I'm sorry, I've just come into this call. I said to Laura, I've just had meetings and things booked, but no, thanks for having us. So I manage Evolve, Apprentices Limited. We started in 2013, and pretty much since then, since the company was formed, we've been predominantly providing a service in partnership with the CITB, the Construction Industry Training Board, around the shared apprenticeship scheme. So other people might know it as an apprenticeship training agency. Essentially, we've been employing apprentices and we put them on building sites throughout London. It's a London-specific scheme, and we employ those apprentices. And the scheme is designed to take advantage of short-term placements on building sites throughout London and assist those employers to meet their social value targets that they have in place, specifically around apprentices. So over the years, we've employed more than 200 apprentices. We've got in the region of 40 apprentices that we currently employ. I know the focus is on youth, and the majority would fall into that classification. But we do also apprenticeships, obviously, for everybody. So there are some that are a little bit older that are on our books. And then just in recent times, we've been looking at how we can develop the services that we offer. And we have specifically chosen to apply for funding to help us with sort of employability. We meet a lot of candidates when we're hiring for apprenticeships that maybe aren't eligible for apprenticeships. Maybe they need help with functional skills. Quite often we face issues around local labour restrictions. So our apprentices will need to be from the borough where the work is occurring. And so we maybe meet candidates that aren't quite eligible for our roles at that time. And we want ways that we can still support them and maybe help them find a career in construction. So we have got some funding that we're using at the moment, ESF funding, which is allowing us to deliver a program that we call Career Construct, which is an employability program aimed at underrepresented groups. That would include people from ethnic minorities and women. And we essentially are providing employment advice and guidance on that program. And we are also a Kickstart gateway. So that is one of the things that we've been using ERSA for recently. Really useful to have been part of the Kickstart community forums. That's helped us with some of the complications around the scheme. I was just going to have another look at Laura's email, just in terms of things that we were going to talk about. It just asked around challenges we may have had during the times of the pandemic over the last year. It's affected some of the young people that we've got on building sites. Initially, a lot of the young people weren't able to go to site. We've done well to get most of them back on the sites, but we still are having an issue with what we call displaced apprentices. So they're not on site at the moment. We're still looking for new placements for them, and that really was an impact of the pandemic, even though we do see it outside COVID times as well. Yes, I mean, and I mean, in terms of the membership bursary, I mentioned the Kickstart community forum. It's been brilliant. We just want to, my background and the background of the directors of Evolve has been around employability. So personally, I've been employed by the DWP and for private welfare to work providers, housing associations, and always worked in this field. So the shared scheme, it has similarities, the shared apprenticeship scheme, but also now we're doing more work around employability and looking for additional ways that we can support people. The programs we're running are of a certain size, but we think with perhaps additional funding in times to come that we might be able to do something on a larger scale. I think that's probably it in a nutshell. I don't know if we're open for questions or if anyone wants to ask anything about Evolve.
James?
Yes.
It's Simeon Perry from Enable Communities.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. I was just going to sort of make a connection when I talk, but I'm part of a group that is also one of the shared apprenticeship schemes covering Yorkshire and Humber as well through Enable Futures. So there'll be a bit of overlap, if you like, but good to put a face to a name anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Simeon. I did also mean to reference that because I saw the name on the list.
Yeah.
And we obviously come together and do some work together quite often in terms of the shared scheme and improving the scheme. So yeah, good to meet you as well. Thanks, Simeon.
That's great. Thanks, James, and thanks, Simeon, as well. Is there any more questions? Doesn't look like it. I know a few of the bursary holders have to go early, so there may be some more questions for those of you who can stay till the end of the sessions. But yeah, thanks for that. That was fantastic. That sounds like a heavy workload, but a rewarding one.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks a lot.
That's great. No problem. Okay, next up we have Laura Simmons of Launch It. If you're there, Laura.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Great. Yeah, hi everyone. I am Laura Simmons. I'm Director of Development for Launch It. We're very pleased to be part of the ERSA Bursary group. Thanks for inviting us today. So who are Launch It? So we're a registered charity. We've been going for 20 years. And we help young people to start a business. So we work with 18 to 30-year-olds and we provide mentoring and training. And I guess what we do that makes us a little bit different is that we also work with local councils and landlords, and we repurpose disused buildings in deprived communities and we turn them into enterprise centres. So we get buildings at very low rents and we're able to offer to pass on those savings to the young people we're working with, and so we can offer very affordable workspace to them. And our aims really are to increase the number of businesses starting up in deprived areas. And in terms of the young people we're working with, it's to empower them to earn a living and to develop skills doing something that they're really passionate about. With the brief, we were asked to sort of say a bit about our background. So I was self-employed for 12 years before coming to Launch It. And I think that's helped me to really understand that it's not something that's easy to do. I didn't run a business, but I was a freelance musician and music teacher. So it's not for everyone. And I think it is quite hard. But I do think what it brings to people is that it really forces you to step out of your comfort zone in a way that perhaps traditional employment doesn't always. Because, you know, if you don't get out there and sell yourself, do your marketing, if you don't understand so many different things like taxes, accounting, marketing, you have to learn so much, and if you don't learn it, you're not going to get paid, basically. So it's very much jumping in at the deep end, and it really does force you to learn. And so I was naturally drawn to working at Launchit because of my background. And who do we work with at Launchit? Well, we do target our support within the communities. Like I said, we work with 18 to 30-year-olds, and we would describe them as facing economic and social disadvantage. So typically they'd be unemployed or underemployed. Quite often they've got many barriers to finding decent employment. So we'll work with young people who are single parents, young people who've got health issues. They might be carers as well. So usually there's quite a wide range of barriers they're facing. How have we been impacted? Well, because we run enterprise centres, we literally had to close everything down at the beginning of the pandemic. So that was obviously very difficult. Young people couldn't come in, we couldn't work with them. A lot of our staff were furloughed. So yeah, it's been a tricky time. Luckily, none of that lasted too long. And we have been fully operational, I'd say, for the last 8 months, 6 to 8 months. So we're back on our feet. We've had to get used to doing things virtually like everyone has, but I do see some opportunities as well as difficulties with doing that. So we're working with our young people like this, online, mentoring them and providing training online. In terms of working with young people from an ethnic minority background, so we are across the UK. Well, we're expanding across the UK. At the moment, we're in London and Scotland. In London, 80% of the young people we work with are from an ethnic minority background, so usually Black African or Black Caribbean. And I think the challenges they face, so we have done some recent research, and a lot of these challenges did come out through that research. I think a lot of it is around them not really accessing mainstream business support because they don't see themselves represented there. I picked out actually a couple of quotes that young people did say to us. So one is, race-wise, let me find things that are run by Black people so I feel more confident going, or people that I can relate to build my confidence in networking. Another young person said, I think we should have more case studies of people who are not being seen or represented. Why is it in the UK we think there's no Black female women entrepreneurs? It's because they're not seen, they're not talked about, and they're not promoted. So I think the young people we work with very much tend to stay local. They don't necessarily go to the local economic partnership, business support opportunities. And I think there's more to be done to kind of target networking and events at this group of young people. And finally, why did we want to become a bursary member? Well, we want to ensure, we see entrepreneurship as a real opportunity for young people and an opportunity for recovery after COVID. So we want to work collaboratively with ERSA and with the groups, with yourselves, to ensure that entrepreneurship is on the government agenda, but also that any support that's offered is targeted to the right people. We want to make sure that entrepreneurship is accessible and that everyone who wants to start their own business can. And that, I think I will wrap up there and hand back to you, Callum.
That's great. Thanks, Laura. I don't think self-employment is something that we talk about enough in terms of, an opportunity or a route for young people. So it's really important, I think, that there are organisations like yours really doing this. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so up next we have Mark Pike of Develop. You there, Mark?
Hi. Yep.
There.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I've got beard envy from seeing James right at the start. So just a little bit about Develop, and from myself and Elaine. We were established as a business education partnership way back in 1996. So this is our 25th year, and the organisation has evolved really to focus more on young people who face multiple barriers, so particularly those who have social deprivation, and also those people who have educational healthcare plans. So a lot of the work that we do is with those types of students with very complex needs, and we work with them to educate them, train them, and move them into supported internships and to employment. In terms of COVID and the impact it has obviously, similar to everybody else, different ways of working. We did remain open because a number of our young people have significant vulnerabilities, and actually we are for some of them, their safe place. And so we continue to provide services to those young people. And it was a mixture of online and also bespoke learning within our training centres. And the reason I think that particularly I'm interested in the ERSA bursary is because I strongly believe, although there's a lot of rhetoric around we must support these young people, I don't really feel that they have a particularly strong voice, and I think ERSA will provide that advocacy for us with all of its contacts and the types of people that you work with to be able to take that forward. And I know Elaine would like to do an update from her side of the business.
Yeah, so it's almost like a business of two halves. The other side of the business, we work with students from year 10 upwards. So that's preliminary sorting and organising, working with employers for their work experience, but also alongside working with students that are on the cusp of being pre-NEET. And school isn't always their carrot, so employment may be. And we do what we call an extended work experience. So that's where a student can work closely with an employer and receive mentoring from that employer for at least a year, not an academic year, a whole year. And in many cases, that can actually move into an apprenticeship as well. So we also, in addition to that, with schools, we have a number of other projects, engagement projects, so community projects. We're currently running a few community projects actually in Milton Keynes, working alongside community centres with students from schools. And again, it's just giving them a sense of achievement, a sense of importance, and and also of an old people's home as well. So they're actually in the community, and to give, it's almost respect for themselves and respect for others. So to say that's just the other side of the business as well.
So that's it, short and sweet.
That's excellent. Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Elaine. That sounds like an incredibly rewarding and important work that you're doing. I actually did a similar thing in year 10 because I was at a quite disadvantaged school, and a charity came in and worked with us, and I think that's what got me to university. So brilliant work. Keep doing it.
Yeah, we have had young people who, I mean, the case I always refer back to is we had one young lad with us who had an educational healthcare plan. When he first joined us, he would sit in the corner and not speak to anybody. At the end of 3 years, he went to university and he did presentations, and it reminds you why you actually do what you do, and that actually, given the right support, the right environment, these young people should not be written off because they are far too early.
That's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, back to Simeon. You there?
I'm there. I just had to unmute myself as usual before you get the saying of the last 12 months.
It's like a seance.
Yes. Anyway, hi. Thanks very much for inviting me to this session, and also how pleased I am personally and my charity's trustees are to be awarded this bursary. And I think it's really significant in what's been a bit of a sort of topsy-turvy year for so many people, and not least the beneficiaries, the recipients that we're trying to support. So just going through the sort of bullet point questions that Laura kindly sent earlier this week. So in terms of myself, I've had a history of a career in working in social housing, predominantly for local authorities. And a few years ago, wanted to do something a bit different type thing. So I've got that connectivity in public housing, social housing, and I've based in Yorkshire. I was offered an opportunity about developing a charity in employment and skills, a whole new sector really to me, but really linked to the communities that used to work with when I was in housing. So that, if in essence, is the sort of basis of the submission to ERSA and the basis of what the charity does. So Enable Communities is a charity that's regionally based, Yorkshire and Humber, but would look at opportunities on the boundaries, if you like. So, you know, north or south, Teesside or East Midlands, that enables commissions to a large extent, employment and training from any group, and the objects are really wide. But, you know, clearly at the moment, there's a real focus on young people. And through that, we're a Kickstart body and got about 50 placements. Administratively, it's quite hard work. But, you know, the rewards of getting people employed is tremendous. And, you know, the ERSA Kickstart Forum's a fantastic forum and opportunity. And Enable Communities is associated with a wider not-for-profit social enterprise called Efficiency North, that one of the aspects of Efficiency North, picking up on what I said earlier, Enable Futures is a shared CITB shared apprenticeship organisation, in essence, a apprenticeship training agency type thing. So there's clear links with Evolve there, and also Efficiency North provides frameworks for social housing landlords. So there's a sort of clear concentration within the construction sector and work with a number of construction partners, both nationals and also sort of SMEs on a sort of more regional basis. In terms of the sort of application and the work we want to promote and enable as a result of this bursary, is I've sort of linked up and working really closely with a fantastic social housing membership body called Communities That Work, which promotes and supports social landlords. So that's councils, housing associations, and there's other types of bodies as well. If you're working with that sector, you may know, called ALMOs and so forth, arm's length management organisations that support residents into work and improve their skills base. And I've created a sort of more regional body to be more inclusive with social landlords that either aren't or can't become a member of Communities That Work, but to support them develop opportunities in terms of supporting their residents into work. And this is relatively growing field within the social housing arena, if you like. And through that, I want to support a number of, and I'll use the term, Callum, because I can't think of a better word to use, but BAME orientated housing associations, of which there's 3 in Yorkshire and Humber, and also some other related housing organisations that are community-led housing that are BAME centred, but also more mainstream housing associations that clearly have a lot, many BAME residents as their customers, if you like, and how to support those communities into work. So that's where I want to work with them. There's some fantastic innovative examples of what these organisations are doing, but it's about joining them together, sharing good practice, getting the organisations to not be so English, if you like, and promote what they're doing to other organisations, which thereby enables greater collaborations. And my mantra is collaboration, not competition. And when appropriate opportunities come up, be it through national funding or more regional or innovative funding, that there are people know what each other's doing and they're linked in, if you like, together, and can create those links together. So that's what I want to do with an end outcome of supporting more people that are from heritage backgrounds. That might be a better terminology, to have the opportunity of entering work type thing. In terms of the pandemic in the last year, my analogy is life's been a bit of a snakes and ladders board. We were, as a charity, moving up the squares, if you like, on a couple of significant ladders, which was great. Come the pandemic, one major commissioner pulled its funding, so slid down major snakes, still on the board, but have to sort of ourselves build back better. So this is a significant boost in that building back better process. So I think that's sort of overall quite a description of Enable Communities, and to be part of this community, I think is great in itself. And, you know, clearly fly the flag for ERSA and be an ambassador and encourage greater membership, just like sort of through Communities at Work and other associated bodies. Okay, thanks very much.
That's great. Thanks,
Callum.
Ian. It's amazing to see all the links between the bursary holders as well. And it's also good to see another Yorkshire guy up here. I'm in Leeds, so it's always the way.
I live in Leeds, Callum. I was going to contact and meet up when we can outside.
Absolutely. We can actually talk to people in person again.
Yeah, yep.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, I think we have Gavin Jackson of 422 Foundation. Are you there, Gavin?
Yeah, thanks, Carl.
No worries.
Can you hear me and see me?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Great. So yeah, thank you first of all for the award of the bursary. It's fantastic news for us. And yeah, just to give you an overview of the foundation. So I co-founded 422 Foundation in January 2019. We're based in Tottenham, and we very much began really as a grassroots community organisation, trying to focus here in Northumberland Park, some of the most deprived areas of Tottenham, try and help that community. In the following couple of years, we've kind of expanded, funded by the lottery, the Mayor of London, and partnering with Enfield Council. So we branched out really into Haringey and Enfield, but we're trying to really maintain our roots. And the vision really for 422 Foundation was inspired by supporting young people all the way from the age of 4 to 22. Our conversations with heads and community leaders kind of focused on that. We wanted to start working with people, from the age of 4 to identify those people that could best receive our support really from a very young age. And then I think the other innovative thing that we're trying to work towards is to make that support really long term. So perhaps in the absence of support from councils and schools, after school, extracurricular, we kind of identified a gap where the third sector could come in and really provide that long-term support. So what we're trying to do is our program, which we originally termed a social mobility program, is kind of like a long-term 15-year vision. And that comprises really a program of around 6 different projects. So at the moment, we have our early years initiative where we start providing one-to-one support and mentoring from child development professionals from the age of 4. From the age of 7 to 11, we're working in schools here in Tottenham, whereby we provide what we call like a tuition school, which gives that core academic support in maths, English, verbal and non-verbal reasoning. Again, because of the pandemic and all of the missed schooling from the young people, that particular project and focus has become kind of a crucial priority, I think, nationwide in terms of how that extra support can be given to those young people. And then really from the age of 11, we start to focus really on future careers and employability. So we're in schools in Enfield, and we basically provide what we call career pathways projects. So basically that comprises kind of a focused 20-week programs on an introduction to STEM subjects. So we have a career pathways project, which works really in terms of trying to prepare those young people and indeed inspire those young people for careers in what we think will be the jobs of the future. So that's robotics, coding, programming, video gaming, AI, VR, 3D printing and laser cutting. So we kind of get those young people to really make the best choices academically to prepare them for those careers with a hopefully a vision of what the jobs landscape will look like really in about 10 years time for those young people. At the same time, we have also another career pathways project, which we call Music Meets Arts, which is very much focused around creative arts. Haringey is really a hotbed for creative industries, and historically and also at the present time. And yeah, so we focus on fashion and music, and really, again, trying to inspire those young people to have a vision for how they can realistically aspire to work in those fields, trying to address also underrepresentation within those industries, focusing very much on the demographics that we have here in Tottenham. And then, from 16, again, we're providing an employability mentoring and counselling project to unemployed young people that aren't in education or training here in Tottenham. So that project is, again, supporting people into paid work, giving them one-to-one mentoring, some focus also on helping those young people set up their own businesses, and also, counselling for those that maybe have suffered COVID-related family trauma or bereavement, again, specific to our time here in the pandemic. And we also have an employment program which has kind of historically focused on accountancy and finance. We placed about 60 people into full-time work in that field. And so, basically, our focus is very much around getting people into jobs, but also preparing them for that stage by helping them to achieve the academic potential that each of those individuals is capable of. So some of those young people will be supported into Russell Group universities. But again, we try and focus very much on a tailored individual approach to supporting our young people by using our networks here in Haringey and Enfield primarily. And also, as Simeon alluded to, I think one of the great positive things that we've had in this year, which will enable us to sustain the organisation, is, but again, as Simeon correctly said, it's been a great source of job satisfaction to us, is that we're also a Kickstart Gateway provider and training provider. So we have worked with employers nationwide. We currently have, again, about 45 approved placements, but we have about 300 to 400 that are kind of being created, that's in the pipeline. So again, that's a process that's going to last throughout 2021. Again, we're in discussions. I know that ERSA have very much taken the lead in lobbying the government to try and get that scheme extended for another 12 months. But we're creating placements and working with employers to get those, to create those opportunities for young people. We're also very much interested in, we're still relatively new, we're only in our third year now, and that whole transition over the last 12 months from face-to-face to online is beginning to be reverted. But it took us some time to successfully design and apply for funding for what have been our online projects for the past 12 months. But we're very much, again, this opportunity, this award has been very positive for us. And again, we're very much looking forward to working with everyone in this roundtable discussion and opening up discussions and basically, working together, working in partnership to try and best achieve our aims. And the ERSA Kickstart forums have been fantastic. That was my first introduction to ERSA. And I know that Laura and Elizabeth have been incredibly helpful, really in general, but again, certainly with Kickstart in kind of, helping us with that process, introducing us, giving us the opportunity to get the information from the DWP that we need. So it's a great opportunity for us, and it's great to meet everyone here. Thanks, Callum.
That's great. Thanks, Gavin. It's amazing to think about the work you've achieved just in 3 years as well, in the middle of a pandemic as well. Yeah. That's incredible.
Thank you.
And anything we can do to self-support that is our pleasure.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, next up we have Ollie Sumner of Merseyside Community Trust. Hey, Ollie.
Hi, guys. You okay?
Yeah, all good.
Merseyside Community Training. Okay, so just to give you a bit of an overview of the organisation where we kind of stand today. So we're a social enterprise, not-for-profit, based up in Liverpool City region, Birkenhead, which is part of the Wirral. We've kind of been fortunate enough to be awarded a grant by the DWP to act as the youth employment hub up here for the for City region. So what that basically entails is that we've been given a grant funding to run a programme which will see between 300 and 400 young people come through the door over a 12-month period. We have 2 DWP work coaches who are based on site. So rather than them seeing their appointments within the job centre, they see them in that little bit more of a relaxed environment. and a setting which is more kind of fit for youth. And then as part of the grant, we put on kind of the wraparound interventions and sessions which will support them towards positive destinations and outcomes. So we see ourselves as very much as a bit of a connector, so trying to tie in with as many employers, training providers, colleges, FE providers, whatever it may be, to link the young people into these kind of positive destinations, obviously with the support that we provide them along the way. So as part of the building that we're in, we have quite a very much so a community feel. So we have a community cafe on site. So all the young people who come through the door, they are they're basically fed when they come in. They get hot breakfast, they get hot lunch, and we also have a food bank on site as well. So we understand, especially with the pandemic, times are hard for people at the moment. So for evening meals, people want to come for families. They take an evening meal home with them for the families. We very much kind of encourage that. And then again, we also try and make the centre as accessible as we can. So I'm not sure what other regions have, but in terms of Liverpool City region, we kind of have the city bikes, which you see dotted around the city here, there, and everywhere. So we have the station where they kind of get maintained here. They're kind of the upkeep of them, and then they kind of go back out into supply across the region. So we try and put banks of the cycles at local bus depots, train stations, etc. Just try and make the centre as accessible as we can for people. In terms of where we're at with we have a young entrepreneurs cohort, and we've been quite ingenious in the way that we've managed to actually recruit a bank of young entrepreneurs through Kickstart as the vehicle. So the idea being is they're basically paid for a 6-month period to build their own business. And we put on that wraparound support, mentoring, placing them in with obviously whatever their kind of business idea is, with experts who are from that world. And then our kind of founding members are heavily linked in with our local Wirral Chamber of Commerce and have expertise in being business leaders themselves, who can obviously offer that mentoring support and advice, which they kind of put into that 6-month kickstart. They hopefully at the end of it, they then have some kind of a business expo where they talk about their own business idea. They showcase their brand. We bring in some investors, and then obviously hopefully at the end of the 6 months, they kind of they're at a position where they can kind of start earning from the business, if you will. What we also have as well is we've developed a digital community campus, obviously with COVID, from having the virtual offer. We've now got our own platform where we have an e-learning, employability, job search and CV builder with secure messaging feature on there. So that's something that we've brought in. So it's great for our coordinators to link in with the young people. You can do, like I said, it's very simple CV builder. We're clicking keywords, it puts it into a paragraph for you. We understand young people aren't great at talking about themselves, so we kind of made it a little bit more focused. How would your friends describe you, etc. Take the 3 keywords, from what they take it puts it into that paragraph for them. It makes it a little bit easier for them. In terms of my background, I kind of came from the justice sector, so I was kind of involved with Novus, who were kind of one of the main education providers for the MOJ. My most recent role was kind of a national ops manager for Novus Works, so linking with key stakeholders, partners, and employers to try and find offenders opportunities for employment, training, etc. post-release. So that's one of our kind of specialisms, as well as we do try and have like an ex-offender specialism and cohort, where we will support them with disclosure. We'll support them with, the do's and don'ts and how to behave with when they're making their applications, etc., and the do's and don'ts when going into the world of work. And from obviously, our being awarded the bursary, the main, we're really looking forward to being able to link with as many partner organisations as we can to try and obviously build better resource and secure more positive destinations for our young people, and work with other people who've been in it this game a lot longer than we have. Like I said, we're a fairly new entity. We kind of came into place in October last year, so still fairly new, but we're making good ground, shall we say, and obviously looking forward to linking in with the network going forward. I think that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Ollie. It's incredible the wraparound support you've been able to set up and establish already in such a short time as well. Great. Cheers, Callum. No problem at all. I don't think we have East Midlands Chambers or a Vision for Empowerment on the call. They're on my list, but I'm not sure they're here. So if we could go now to Emily Thorpe of the brilliantly named Wellies to Work. you there, Emily?
Hello, yes, I am.
Hey, great.
So yeah, thank you. Release to Work is a preparation to work, should we say, program for 16 to 25-year-olds with learning difficulties. We're based on a 33-acre farm in West Sussex, hence the name. And we have young people coming to us from kind of everywhere, really. As long as they can get here, we are kind of in the middle of nowhere. But they're referred to us from our local Journey to Work and Bush Hub programme, which are funded by DWP. So we work really closely with the local council and DWP services in our local area. And the programme was set up by Tracy, who is the farm owner, to kind of help alleviate kind of the pressure that DWP were finding with supporting individuals with learning difficulties, because they were just inundated with the need of jobs even before the pandemic. So then she kind of created this service where they could refer individuals to come to the farm and learn practical as well as business skills. So they work with the farm staff and Tracy really closely, and we also have, sorry, I don't know what the title is of the job, a farm logistics manager who kind of creates daily programs and timetables to kind of help develop a range of not necessarily soft skills, but how to work with others, because obviously we have visitors to the farm and it's about kind of growing in confidence and helping their mental health and understanding their disability as well. So that's kind of where my job role comes in. So I'm a programme coordinator and I have a background in education and learning difficulties. And I create kind of like individual plans for those who do already have education and healthcare plans, or those who just don't and have been referred to us from local schools, or they've just found us online. So we create an individual plan for them to work through whilst they're with us, with kind of their aims of what they'd like to achieve in the future, their dream job or their dream career, and what they think they're really good at and what they obviously feel they really need support in. So then we work through these individual plans. There's no set time that they're with us. They can be with us kind of as long as they need to be. Some people before COVID was with us for 6 months, and then we've still actually got someone on the farm at the moment that kind of we worked around it with COVID when we weren't allowed to be open, and he's actually employed by the farm, but still kind of working through the programme and kind of going from strength to strength. And we're hoping to convince him to kind of be a mentor for our new cohort in the summer. We haven't quite got that yet. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about us and who we work with as kind of the council, schools, colleges, social services, CAMS, and we have connected recently with other services in the area, but everyone's kind of said how much COVID has affected it, because working with people with learning difficulties, not face-to-face, is really difficult to get them engaged, or to just the support is really hard to do for them online, just for so many different reasons. So we're trying to work with other services in the area to kind of collaborate, to say, we've got this person, can they come to you, kind of when we're up and running again. We've also been working with a COVID initiative based in Crawley and Gatwick to kind of helping rebuild Crawley and boost jobs in other areas, obviously because Gatwick's been closed for so long. So that's something we've been working on alongside this during the pandemic, to kind of then know employers that we can send our young people to. Because when they finish their programme, what we do is we connect them with local businesses, and then we support the businesses and their employees in taking on someone with a learning difficulty, because although we understand their needs and their triggers to their different learning difficulties, we understand that others aren't as aware of how to deal with or how to identify different triggers or issues they might find in the workplace. So we offer training for them before the young person starts, and then support throughout that yeah, that's everything about us, I think.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Emily. It's nice to see an example of a rural kind of organisation as well, doing such great work though. And yeah, that name, it's just fantastic.
Thank you.
No problem. We have half an hour now for questions, if anyone has any for any of the bursary holders. Deborah, I know you have your hand up, but I feel like it's a legacy hand, if that's the term. Oh, yeah.
It was, apologies.
That's fine. I actually have a question based off of something Emily just said about linking up with other organisations during the pandemic, which is kind of an open question to everyone who's spoken today, really, which is there anything kind of positive that you've learned from your experiences over the past year that you'll be taking forward into a post-pandemic era, you know, whether it's in terms of linking up with other organisations or learning new ways to provide support? Just looking for any silver linings, basically. So if anyone has any, it'll be great to hear them.
Callum, from me, it's well, I think the past is now what 14 months. Like all these kind of periods of life, there are opportunities as well as threats, and I don't want to denigrate the threats, because there has been an awful lot of threats to an awful lot of people in all sorts of different ways, in employment and clearly through COVID illness, all sorts of things. But I think it has also created a whole host of opportunities. You know, the fact that there's meetings like today digitally involving, you know, there's what 20 plus people, but I bet there's been more this morning, and all sorts of things going forwards. And it's also given a sort of period of thought and refocus for organisations about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how better could you do it, type thing. And you know, for me, finding out about ERSA is one of those on the list, type thing, amongst several others. So yeah, I mean, you know, there's been all sorts of, in terms of connectivity, and then through that connectivity, you know, there's further ripples, if you like. It's all ripples in a pool, and those get wider and wider. So you know, it's been that opportunity. I wouldn't have done a number of things, and bringing people together if it wasn't, you know, if it was the same as, and it's different as, and the year going forward will be different again. And you know, I think we've all got to challenge ourselves and question what we're doing and why we're doing it, and how can we do things better. And it is all about, and it's not a tied old public sector term, but about partnership, and particularly about collaboration. And as I said in my bit, it's about collaboration, not competition. What can people do differently but better, but together, type thing, with different people's USPs. So I'll stop there.
That's great. Thank you. I think that like added collaboration and connectivity is so important. And if you think about in the past, like a lot of this would have just been done in meetings in London, you know, and now anyone can be anywhere, and there's no geographical limit on organisations help communicating or being supported by others. And I think that's fantastic. Laura,
there's
did you want to
life north of Watford?
there is, including up here in Yorkshire.
Yeah, I completely echo that, and I think we're quite a small charity. It's probably a lot of small charities here. We were complete Luddites before this, and we really wanted to do virtual stuff. We've wanted to do it for ages, but we've all been forced to do this now, and we literally, it's kind of second nature, and it's second nature for the people that we work with. And I think that really does create opportunities. Like, we offer training through sort of corporate, so they come on board and give enterprise skills training, and they were doing it face to face, and we had okay numbers. But since we've done it online, because we can then reach out to our other UK sites, the numbers have just gone up so much in terms of those attending the training. That's been brilliant. And I just wanted to also mention, we're funded a lot by trusts and foundations, and there's been a lot of kind of emergency funds coming out, which have been really helpful for us, actually, and we've been quite successful in applying for those. And in fact, we've probably been more successful in terms of fundraising in the last year than we have.
That's great.
previously, and obviously that's going to change. But yeah, that has been one benefit. I think a lot of people wanting to help young people at this time.
Clear silver lining. It's always good to find. Thank you. Gavin, did you want to come in?
Yeah, sure. I'll say hello. I think at this time it's a case of how does your garden grow? The things that need nipping in the bud, and other things that need attention and that kind of thing. And sometimes I think if we create circumstances that happen organically as well, that's also quite useful. So establish things for the capacity for things to grow and allow them to happen organically. I'm certainly seeing that with youth groups. I'm an oldie but a goodie, but youth, they communicate differently at different levels and operate differently. So essentially, I see myself as a role as a facilitator, and I'm not sure if others can relate to that. But you create a program, then you deliver that with those youth who are taking the lead, and then allow them to deliver in a way through their community groups, and then things kind of grow organically. So you're more of a facilitator with the wisdom and understanding. But there are a lot of youth today who also don't have role models. They don't have the access to role models. And this is also a challenge as well. And we're often, they're embedded in their devices and lack the soft skills needed, as I think has been highlighted, to progress, and particularly challenging in that space for neurodiverse youth today, particularly if you don't have role models or that smooth transition from school into the world of work. Well, in my generation, we went out, we turned out newspapers, we turned up at the local mechanic's shop, and we asked to work on a Saturday, and to hand us a broom and told us to sweep, and then it would transition organically straight into the world of work. Whereas now, digitally, everything is applied online digitally. And then they want you to be a post-grad with 10 years experience behind you. And so, really this whole community needs to really shift in a community of practice and shared practice. I think the will is there, but we're not really seeing a huge amount of uptake, particularly with Kickstart. That needs to be looked into as to why and how, and also, what percentile of neurodiverse people are being engaged and how and why, and what does that look like. So we've had some great sessions, and there's a lot of great work here being done over very challenging times. And I'm grateful for my part for this community to exist through ERSA. Hopefully it'll come to fruition. I believe that through challenging times, the only way to do that is to have the resolve through Ubuntu, with a spirit of Ubuntu. My problem is your problem. A problem shared is a problem halved. That way, all our bowls will remain full. So, yeah, and hopefully we'll see a gorgeous spring come out of it over the other side, and we'll get to appreciate the hard work that's to be done by everybody.
Absolutely, well said, Gavin. And I can even see this in the chat now. There's bursary holders linking up already, and providing support and contact to each other. So it's fantastic to see. Laura, did you have your hand up again? Possibly not.
Sorry, not intentionally.
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, thanks for a fantastic session. This has been absolutely incredible to see all the amazing work that you're doing. I think it shows this morning's sessions with me and Chris talking about, we need to focus on the most disadvantaged in society in the response to this pandemic. It's just exemplified by the work that you're doing. So that's the practice after the policy and, the messaging there. So it's fantastic. And anything else it can do to support it is our pleasure. Elizabeth, can I pass to you to close up?
Yeah, we're going to take a break now for lunch. We're going to come back at 1:15. I'd like to invite people to think about sharing your experiences, what you're delivering at the moment. We've also got Christiana from the Institute for Employment Studies, who's going to talk about their quality of work survey. And we've got some young people's voices through Youth Employment UK this afternoon. So I'd encourage you all to come back at 1:15. And it's been really good sharing this morning with you. So enjoy your lunch. Okay, thank you.